dude, have you learned you can't show your feet for free?
That's true, yeah.
You can't show your feet for free. You have to charge. That's where we open a Patreon.
You want to see our feet pics, man? No, dude, that's when we open an OnlyFans.
Hello, world. Hi, everyone. Welcome to the Overinspected podcast. I'm one of your hosts, Carrie, and I'm here with Chai and Manu. And
What's
this
up?
is going to be the best episode the internet has seen.
Hell yeah, I like that.
Yeah.
I like that.
I like it.
Expectations are quite high now.
Don't worry, dude. Every single episode has been the best episode the internet has ever seen. So
They just keep topping each other.
exactly.
So that sounds
exactly.
better. Oh my god.
We're
It's fine. It's fine.
We're suffering.
Well, that's
from
the
success.
thing. We want each episode to be better than the last. Like
Yeah.
the last iPhone wants to be greater than the previous generation, or else what's the point?
Well, I feel
Yeah,
like
I
that
mean-
doesn't happen though. I feel like the last iPhone is just like, oh, let's just rehash the design that we already had from 3 years ago. So then people will buy this one because they like the one from 3 years ago, even though they don't like the ones that we came out last year. I don't know. Anyway.
Yeah, I mean, my iPhone is from 2017, so like I don't upgrade because like Apple's new features just aren't meaningful enough.
Yeah, fair enough.
Yeah.
I feel like that's true with like a lot of like software stuff. It's just like the features that they add are like never as game changing most of the time as like the original features, right? Like imagine being like someone who like got one of the first smartphones, right? It's like that like nothing is ever gonna change the like. Well, I shouldn't say that. I guess maybe that's like a boomer
What about
take.
the metaverse, Manu?
All right, well
It's
maybe
all about the metaverse.
we can save that for a different episode. Carrie, why don't you
Yeah,
tell
a
us about
different
what this
episode.
episode is actually supposed to be
I
about?
was when we were talking about like iPhones, I was actually gonna say like, oh, the new features on the iPhone 13 are not that impressive, but you know what new things could be impressive? If the WCA added new events. Oh, and we could like brainstorm what those
Wait,
events
we
might
got to
be.
make the thumbnail face.
Oh no, I've already done this. No,
If you're
don't
listening
use
on
those.
audio, if you're listening on audio, guys,
You probably
guys
just
have
heard,
no idea
like-
what we're
No,
talking
you know,
about, sorry.
like we can describe it. You know, like the what is it called? Like the scream emoji. It's like the one
Yeah.
that's like slightly.
Oh,
it's
yeah.
like yellow and blue. Yeah, that's what we all just did just now. So.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, I mean, it looks really embarrassing when, like, I'll see people make these, like, montage, or what do you call it, mosaics of, like, all these different thumbnails where everyone's doing the same face. And they're, like, all crypto YouTubers be like...
Oh
and
no,
it's
are we
all-
crypto YouTubers now? Now that we did the one face, that kind of sucks.
Well, I don't think
Oh
it's, like,
my God.
only crypto people who do it, but
Sure.
they do it.
I see.
They do it a lot.
I see.
Anyway, here's a non-WCA puzzle. I
Wait,
guess
what even
people
is
live-
this? Oh, this is wait.
Carrie, can you
Access
describe
cube.
what that is?
Yeah, I was gonna say, like, for the audio listeners, this puzzle... Well, I don't know if I should spoil it, though.
Well, I think I already spoiled.
Oh,
it,
you
so-
want us to guess? Oh, you want us to
Oh.
guess? Oh,
Well, maybe. I mean, if we could turn this into, like, a quiz show.
a quiz show?
Wait, but Manu...
Yeah,
does this
I
already
think
guess?
I think I know what it is. Chai, do you
Oh,
want to
yeah,
guess?
is it the windmill?
No, it's not the
Windmill.
windmill.
It's
No,
not the
it's
windmill
not.
cube. Oh man!
No,
All
it's not
right.
the windmill.
Well,
This
that was
is
Actually,
drum roll. Access cube.
yes, you're right.
Hooray!
I think I might have the box somewhere, but yes, it is the Axis Cube, and it's just a shape mod, so it's just a 3x3 cut differently. So if I solve it, I think it'll just look like a cube, but rotated at a different angle.
Yeah. Plus, it's also like it's not even just like a cube, but like rotated. But it's also just like it's like kind of squished in like a dimension, right? I feel like squished is like a better. You take like a 3x3
Squished.
and then you like push it together in like one corner more than the others.
Oh yeah, it's extended at the very edge, right? Like it's kind of like outward, squished together. I don't know.
Actually-
I'm trying to imagine what it looks
no,
like
not
I think I
really.
know what you mean.
solved.
Oh, I think I know what you mean. I was gonna say I could try solving it so we could look at like what that is in person. But I remember the last time I solved it, it took 30 minutes, and
Oh no.
and like if I do that while we're talking, it'll be the end of the podcast by the time it's done.
That's a good point. I mean, yeah, Axis Cube is pretty interesting because like So it solves very similarly to a 3x3, from what I remember, except one of the interesting things about Axis Cube is I think the centers have actual orientation. So it works a little bit like a super cube, where like you can solve the whole thing. You can get all the pieces into the right positions, so you can permute everything correctly. But because the centers have like an orientation, you can actually end up with like weird like Axis Cube. You can think of it like maybe as sort of parity, where like the two centers are actually going to be rotated, and then it won't actually like look like a perfect cube shape.
Well, like this yellow and orange piece here is like a center, and if you rotate it 90 degrees, it'll look different.
Right. Yeah.
And well, I know that like if you have a supercube where orientation of centers matters, you can do a T-perm twice to rotate it 180 degrees.
Yeah, and then
I don't know where I figured that out. I think I figured that out because I would notice when I did T-perms on 3x3, the logo would rotate.
Yeah, exactly.
If you had a logo that was not symmetrical.
Yeah, exactly. So
Right.
I guess for a supercube, for those who don't know, is like it's just the same thing as a normal 3x3, except like every single piece has orientation. For the vast majority of pieces, this doesn't really matter. But it would be the same thing as if I went on every single center and I drew like a little arrow that's like pointing up, for example. And that way, like if the center is like pointing up, then if all centers are like pointing up, then they're solved or whatever. So that's like the idea of a supercube. You can have the cubes in like particular states where the centers are like rotated, but everything else is in the right position. So yeah, the Axis Cube functions very similarly to that. Yeah, which I guess is one thing that makes it like an interesting puzzle, and which is I guess also why it's not a WCA event, right?
Yeah, I mean, I don't think any shape mod should be a WCA event because it's just too similar to what it is a shape mod of.
Yeah, I guess that's true, because I guess like we should also discuss like what we think WCA events should include and shouldn't include. Like I think I agree. I guess one of the things I think, which I don't know, maybe this is like not a real doctrine or whatever, but one thing which I think is interesting is like WCA events should be like like add something unique, or like something like uniquely challenging, something that like we don't already see in the current like suite of like 18 events that we already have. So like for example, like 3x3 is it's the 3x3 cube, but Megaminx solves relatively somewhat similarly to a 3x3, but there's a lot of like different things that go on. Like the structure of these two puzzles are like inherently different, whereas like that's not necessarily true between the 3x3 and the Axis Cube. They are almost entirely the same thing. In fact, if we just wanted to replace 3x3 with Supercube, then they would basically be the same thing. They just look a little bit different.
Yeah, but then what would the argument be? I mean, I know the argument is for like 3x3 versus one-handed, because you still have the same puzzle. But I mean, I know that you use different strategies when you only have one hand.
Mm-hmm.
But I guess I'm just playing devil's advocate, because you could say, oh, to turn the Axis Cube, you have to use different finger tricks.
I guess that is true. I guess that is true.
I would almost argue, I mean, are there finger tricks, or is it like palm turning?
Oh, for me, it's palm turning.
Right. But it could theoretically turn into something that is speed cubable, right? Speed solvable.
Yeah, because I remember in like 2013, before Scube became official, everyone turned the Scube kind of,
Oh yeah, I still do that.
Like the
What was the revolution of Scube? The Polish sledgehammer.
The Polish sledgehammer.
Oh, yeah. I still can't do it, but yeah, it's like where it's regripless or something.
Yeah.
I mean, to be fair, that sounds like such a godly thing to like call something. Like,
right?
I'm gonna execute the Polish sledgehammer.
It reminds me of like with Square One, they have like Polish turning and Western turning, and everyone says that Western turning is better.
Western turning is what like when you like it's like alternating slices.
Yeah, it's just like when you alternate up down, but then I think Polish turning is where you kind of like turn like up and then you regrip and then you turn up. So you're like regripping every single time.
Yeah, I mean, it makes sense to me. It makes sense that like alternating turning would just.
Oh, that reminds me of like a puzzle that I just wanted to make a pit stop of this conversation about, because how we were talking about shape mods maybe not being ideal for the WCA. I mean, I wanted to ask for some clarification. A square one is in some capacity a shape mod, right? Because when it is scrambled, it is not a cube. It is not in its original shape.
I don't think that's not what I think shape mods refer to. I think shape
What,
mods
what
are
would
not,
it be
like,
by definition? Because I would like clarification too.
like a
just as
like what would shape mods be? Shape mods, I guess.
yeah,
Are like,
or like
Mhm.
what is square one? Maybe that's the better question.
well, that I don't know. I don't know if I can answer that, but I think I think maybe we can come up with like a working definition of a shape mod. Like a shape mod to me is like, it's like you would take a 3x3, right? And if you had the ability to deform the pieces in like some way, then you could call it a shape mod. So for example, a Fisher cube is a shape mod of a 3x3. It uses the exact same mechanism, but what we call centers, edges, those things are just different. They look different. The axis cube is a shape mod. I think like mirror blocks is like a very straightforward shape mod. Like all we're doing is like we're just deforming it, right? I don't know if you guys have ever watched. Do you guys know Nathan Wilson?
yeah,
Oh yeah.
yeah. He's
like,
a heavy modder, right?
Yeah. He does like a ton of like modding
creates
stuff.
3D puzzles.
Mhm.
Yeah. So I think like Barrel Cube I think is also like you can think of it, Barrel Cube as a shape mod. He used to do a lot of shape mods, and he used to do a bunch of other like cool modifications too. But yeah, so the way that he would make some of the shape mods is that he would take like, I don't remember exactly what the material was, but he would take like what was it, like no, it was not epoxy. Maybe it was epoxy, or maybe it was just like a putty. But he would take that, attach it onto some of the pieces of like a 3x3, and then he would like mold that, and you would use that to be able to like create like different shapes, or you would like cut apart the different pieces of a 3x3 and then fill them in with putty so that you could like get them to be like not a cube shape anymore. If you wanted it to be like a, I don't know, like a triangle shape instead, you could do like.
Yeah, I know he made a
like
YouTube play button shaped
Yeah.
Rubik's Cube, and there's like a lot of shaving down of a 3x3, and it was like to the point where I think some of the corner pieces were only their stubs or like the stem thing.
Oh really?
And
Wow.
okay,
Interesting.
not quite to that point, but I just felt like wow, you're doing so much shaving. You know, I feel bad for those corner pieces. They barely have any identity left. But like it still turns like a 3x3.
They've grown a
Oh.
new identity though as part of the YouTube play button. I mean,
Yeah.
I just realized what a square one would be categorized under. I kind of differentiated them a little bit in my head, but I didn't realize it. It's shape shifting.
yeah,
Yeah,
there we go.
Shape-shifting.
That's
Sorry,
what I was thinking of.
I was looking for the word, and I was just like, wait, is square one a shape mod? No, but it's a shape shifting puzzle.
Yeah. That is true.
Yeah, I think shape shifting is definitely different from a shape mod, because I guess like the mathematical description of a shape mod would be, you know, if all the kind of mechanics or operations you can perform with a cube are the same. So it's like if you knew an algorithm and you like inputted that into like a database, would that still kind of do the same cycles on the puzzle for a shape mod? And if it would, well, technically it's an isomorphic group, but it's a shape mod.
Right. Well, the other reason why I wanted to talk about square one, like just for like a quick second, is just because I know that it was. I don't think this is trivial. I think the optimal way to do Squan is to alternate slices.
Yeah, I think
But
so as well.
there is a style where you consistently regrip, right?
Yeah,
Like, that's
yeah.
a thing.
Yeah. Well, yeah, it was like, I think, Carrick, you just mentioned this, right? It was like the Western versus the Polish or whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
but it was for
I mean, it's
Squan
just-
too, right?
Oh, yeah, that was in like describing.
That was for Squan, yeah.
Oh, I thought you were talking about Scoob still. Never mind.
Oh, I guess. Well, I mean, Polish speedcubers have conquered all the events, so.
Right.
Hey,
They're
including
very
this
well
one, right?
renowned.
So-
I think. Oh, that's true because of.
Oh
Timon.
yes, that's true.
Yeah.
We've
Well,
been dominated.
Yeah, I guess that shows that like Polish speedcubers have been around like at the beginning, because you know when Square One was first developing, the hardware was like so bad that you had to use your whole wrist.
yeah.
Yeah,
That's
so-
true.
Yeah, I remember that. Man, the first Square One I ever had was my second competition ever, and they had Square One there, and for some reason I decided to sign up for it, but I didn't actually have a Square One. So I don't even know why I signed up. I don't know. I guess 13-year-old me was like, haha, I'm gonna sign up for this event, even though I have no clue what I'm doing. So then I bought a square one off of someone else at that competition, and then they taught me how to solve it. And then that's when, you know, I first learned to solve square one on the same day I went to go and compete in it. And I think like at first it was like went well, and then like at some point I ran into some parity, and it's just like, oh, I don't know what to do anymore. So I think I just took a DNF or something.
Took a DNF.
Yeah.
But man,
50% chance.
those square ones were so awful. They would just constantly pop. They were like very, very difficult to like turn, do any sort of like corner cutting on. Nowadays the hardware is so much better.
Yeah, I mean,
know,
it's weird with square one. Oh.
No, go ahead.
I was just gonna say, like, before all these modern nice turning square ones came out, if you look at the leaderboard of best square oneers, it was like completely different from the speedcubers who are good at 3x3. I noticed like a lot of Chinese speedcubers like Bing Liang Li and like Ru Zhenya, and they like, if you were good at square one, you weren't good at 3x3 and vice versa. But now I feel like all the good square oneers are also good at 3x3 because it takes kind of the same slick turning.
Yeah.
Yeah. Gotta be really like dexterous. Dexterous?
Yeah,
Dexterous?
Dexterous.
Okay, so I said it right the first time.
Yeah.
No, I mean, this is probably for a different podcast, but I did want to give a quick shout out to Chi Yi. We got to talk about brands at some point, but I mean, it's no secret the Chi Yi Square One, legendary.
Yeah, I mean,
legendary
yeah,
the Yushin 5x5 legendary release. So like at some point we got to go over these key brands and like what brands have been beneficial, like what drove the community, you know, and stuff like that.
That sounds like a great podcast episode.
Dude, some of the old hardware, Megaminx too, like some of the old hardware was not good, not good at all.
Yeah, because I think that hardware like makes or breaks an event.
This is perfect.
Actually, yes, Manu, you have the exact
this is perfect.
question.
This
Okay,
is
I know what you're
exactly
thinking
what
about.
I was gonna go to next.
Go.
I was gonna say
go.
So, I think another thing that's like really important for when events get added to the WCA is obviously I think it makes sense for when events get added that they're actually competitive, right? I think it would be, I don't think it's the best idea to add an event when the hardware is still in like the extreme nascent stage. For example, right? I have this lovely puzzle right here called the Face-Turning Octahedron. Very interesting.
We're supposed to guess.
Oh wait.
No, we all know. I think we.
All right. Well, rip.
Oh, you have one too. I'm the only one who doesn't have one.
Yeah. So this is the Face-Turning Octahedron. It's based on the octahedron, which is one of the platonic solids. Kind of cool. And it's a very interesting puzzle because it like does not really operate like a 3x3 at all, and it doesn't really operate like any of the other puzzles in the WCA. So this to me is a good candidate for addition as well. Well, maybe not as well because I don't think Axis Cube is a good candidate. But I think a big reason why this has not yet been added to the WCA's list of events is because the hardware is awful. If you want to take a listen, this is cubing ASMR time. It's actually probably not coming through on Discord for you guys, but it's like horrendously awful. Like I literally just got caught just trying to turn the like one face back like this. So I think like good hardware is going to be a really, really important key to getting events recognized. And I think Chai, you have significantly better hardware than I do, though, right?
Yeah. So in terms of the Face-Turning Octahedron, it was the last puzzle I modded too. So I've modded, I want to say 2 puzzles in my life. I've modded a Shengsho 6x6 because I think I was trying to quote unquote learn how to mod. I mean, it was like 2016. There was no reason for me to mod a Shengsho 6x6. But yes, I did the Florian mod and stuff like that.
Oh, the Florian mods.
Yeah, I just wanted to do it to learn, get my hands dirty, you know, which actually played in part to how I modded my FTO, right? So my FTO, one could probably consider it's overmodded, but I spent a solid 10 hours on that thing. So I modded it, and it is much nicer. I don't know if you guys would be able to hear it, but it can still catch.
Yeah, it's not coming through, but I'm sure that, like, the audio...
You can, like, I think you can see that his is, like, way smoother than mine. Because mine is, like, locky, and his is, like, way, way smoother.
Yeah, like, basically, I would be able to deal with some imperfections. Like, with Manu's FTO, that would not be possible. Well, for me, personally.
Yeah.
I wanted to do FTO. Now I haven't gotten that far. I know how to solve it. I wanted to do FTO because my favorite color is purple. Disclaimer out there. And I wanted a puzzle with purple on it, and FTO is one of them. But I wanted this specific like lavendery light purple color, which is, I thought FTO would be a perfect opportunity for me to do my own color scheme. So I kind of did it myself. I took out orange because I think orange is part of the default. Mm-hmm. Fun fact. Color scheme is very important on FTO, and it's hard to memorize a new color scheme. So,
I'm sure.
Yeah.
Very difficult.
But FTO is cool. I think one of the reasons why it would be a good new event to add is just how it's very... I consider it one of the more unique puzzles. It's kind of got its own speed range. Like, it's between like a 10 to 25 second range, which is not something you typically see with bigger puzzles. It's more so like an OH type range. You also have like the solve style, the technique. What was it, Carrie?
Oh, I was just gonna say, is 10 to 15 like what people are getting now, or where you think they will be if this?
It's what they're getting now. It's what they're getting now.
Oh.
So in a competitive sense, it could range from like, it's basically going to have similar results to OH, I would say.
Okay.
Actually, probably slightly slower results than OH. Pretty much is where it is going to be. But yeah, the solve style is very similar. It doesn't actually, it kind of looks big, but it doesn't have that many actual pieces. Like, the count of pieces is not that much. Solves like 4x4 Yao. The way that the most up-to-date meta method is called Ben Cisco. Yeah, and then it's just... There's just something interesting about it. It's just like the way that you solve triples, stuff like that. It's just new.
Yeah.
It's refreshing.
Yeah, the quality.
The shape. Even the shape, right?
Yeah. I don't know.
Yeah,
like,
I mean...
yeah, definitely like I think the solve style for me is like very, very interesting. Because it's like triangle based, right? Like there are only like 3 possible things you could do, which I think also adds to a huge amount of like simplicity in this puzzle. And yeah, there's like a lot of interesting things that can like somewhat transfer over as well. There are still like concepts like sledgehammer and stuff like that. And we still have like ideas of like these are what centers are, these are what edges are. But yeah, I think the concept of triples is like a very unique thing to a puzzle like this.
Yeah, I've never solved one, so I don't even know what a triple is.
You should learn. A triple is basically like so it's like the one of these like corner pieces, and then also it's like one of these like center pieces, sort of, but it's like the centerpiece that only has like one sticker, and then it's that on both sides. So in this case, it's like this whole thing.
Yeah.
So,
okay, I see.
To do a quick this whole thing is a triple. So like this.
Yeah.
This is a triple, because like you can manipulate this whole thing. So it's kind of hard to see from here, but this is a triple, and you can manipulate the whole thing using a sledge. I just set this up using a sledge. So.
Oh, okay. I mean, there's also 2 other centers on the sides, but those.
Right. So yeah, but these are not part. Like these could be a triple if you, depending on like the way.
It's based on your orientation.
Yeah, based on your orientation. But in this case, because yellow on top, then these two are the triple.
Interesting. Triples.
Yeah. Well, like this is actually something that if you're not experienced in FTO, it's actually more of an objective. You can provide a more objective answer. But for me, it's always been like the chicken or the egg. At least for the modern WCA. Do you want to add an event before the hardware is there, or do you want to add an event after the hardware is there, right? So are you going to try to incentivize a company to make better hardware first by getting it into the WCA, or do you have to get it in first and let the hardware naturally grow, right? I mean,
I think that's interesting.
What do you think?
Yeah.
I think Scube hardware improved a lot when Scube became official. And I mean, like one other like maybe weird benefit of introducing an event before the hardware is good is that the first few world records are really slow, which means there's like a window in which like mediocre speedcubers could get a world record.
I guess
no, that's very true. It's like a novel thing, right?
Yeah, this is true.
Yeah, I mean, there's like one person who has a world record because like they went to a competition on January 1st, 2014, and there just had never been Scube in comp before, and they got like an 8-second single.
Ah, interesting. Yeah, I mean, we can touch
But I
on
don't know
this.
if we want that.
Yeah, we can touch on that stuff later. It's like if we do add events, then like how do we do it so that like there's like a fairness to it. But I guess quickly going back to like this hardware thing, because I guess it's interesting because if you do add the hardware before it becomes an event, then or rather if you add it to the WCA first, right, before you have good hardware, then it kind of like provides a base of cubers that are like, okay, like I'm interested in this event because it's just part of the WCA, right? Like think about like the people who are just like they want to do like every WCA event or something, and it's just like, okay, like this is a new event, let me get into it because it's just a WCA event, right? I can officially compete in this, so why not? Let me just try my hand at it. So it provides like a base level of popularity, whereas like what we're seeing with like FTO right now is like the puzzle is like really popular even without like official WCA support, which might lead to like a cubing manufacturer being like, okay, like like our puzzles are selling well, people want to play with this puzzle, let's make an upgraded version, and then you get like good hardware. But I think that's like probably a rarer case. I think, as Chai mentioned, it's pretty rare for a puzzle to become popular outside of the WCA, like as popular as FTO has become outside of the WCA before it even gets like good hardware.
Yeah, I mean, I remember there was a time when Redicube was the one that everyone was like, oh, we need to make this official.
Yeah.
And I mean, maybe it'll still happen, but I feel like enough time has passed that it probably won't. But it also has quite a few people who like learned how to speed solve it, and they're trying to improve methods, and that's very authentic growth. It's not like because of competition, it's just because they want to get fast at it.
Right, yeah. I remember Redicube days. Those
Redicube was popular.
Yeah, that was like what, like maybe like 2018 or so, maybe 2019.
Yeah, pretty much.
Oh,
I
wait,
actually
I
held
found
my first or second competition organized. We actually did an unofficial Redicube comp because my friend. So here's the deal: our dear friend Wilson.
Wilson.
Oh, Wilson. So just if you ever have somebody do something really dumb, like for example, he's late to something, you just say classic Wilson.
Oh my god.
But anywho, he actually locked in a sponsorship with Moyu to provide prizes and awards for that competition. So one of the things they added as a stipulation was to hold a Redicube competition. So yeah, and that was pretty cool. I think Wilson actually plays quite well on that. I still don't know how to solve a Redicube. I have watched people do it. I don't know. There's just something about the Redicube that hasn't quite hit like. There has to be something about first impressions that kind of attracts you, right? But maybe that's just something where like it's very subjective. It just didn't hit me.
Yeah.
I guess Redicube is like it feels like related to Scube because it's also like a corner turning puzzle, but instead of Scube that has centers, Redicube doesn't have any centers. It only has like edges, and then those edges are carried across corners.
Yeah, and it's also like Scube in that you're going to be doing a lot of sledgehammers and hedge slammers. Like these four
hedge
movers.
Slammers. These names are.
That's what they're called.
I know. It's just keeping terms are really funny. Like I remember when J Perm was explaining to Michelle Carre the sexy move.
Okay, that needs to be renamed. Like I think it's okay. Well, aside from it being cringe, I feel like if someone's trying to teach cubing to like a 5-year-old.
Yeah, like that's the wrong term to say it, right?
That's a good point. Yeah.
Can we come up with a new name for it? Like,
yes, Carrie. I want. Okay, we're gonna popularize this. What do you want to call it?
The Schmexy move.
Okay, that okay, vetoed. There's no way.
Veto.
No shots.
I need one of those
votes.
red buttons. Those red buttons,
Dude,
like no.
Dude, I need a gavel and be like, no, your objection is shot down.
Yeah, no, that's
no.
terrible.
Wow,
we can call. What if we call it Ruru?
Ruru?
No.
No. Yeah. No.
I think it's I think it's interesting when people make the algorithms into words like you're reading it out, like Fruruf.
Oh, Fruruf, yeah.
Oh, Fruruf. Yeah. So there's Fruruf, and then there's
It's
Rafu-Ruff?
Oh,
I don't know.
Is that like triple sexy?
I don't know.
Yeah.
But I know people in Team Blind use
It'd
it.
be Fru-Ru-Ruff would be triple sexy, right? Wait, no.
I mean, Brandon does it in Team Blind. Like, he just pronounces everything.
Oh.
Which is so weird.
Like, not just like RU prime, it would be like Ruru.
Yeah,
Well,
he does that.
talking about Team
to some
Blind,
extent.
this is pretty good
Oh, that
as
could
well.
be an event.
Team
Yeah.
Blind. So let us maybe
What
briefly describe Team Blind. I'm sure all of you wonderful listeners have heard of this event called 3x3 Blindfolded. It is very straightforward. You solve a 3x3, but you can't see it. All right. Well, that's pretty interesting and a very cool event. But what if instead of you solving a 3x3 blindfolded, you have a partner who tells you what to do? So for example, like I'm blindfolded. I never saw the cube at all. So I just get no inspection whatsoever. And then Chai is standing behind me and he's telling me, all right, dude, you got to do R, U, R prime, U prime, and so on. And you try and solve the cube that way. It changes the event from becoming like a very like a individual based thing to becoming like a more team thing. And where you have to come up with ways to because like you might be able to like internalize the solution or whatever, but you need to be able to tell the solution to someone else in a way that they can execute. And you know, if they make any mistakes or something, you need to be able to fix those things kind of on the fly. So yeah, anyway, now that I've described Team Blind, what are your guys' thoughts on Team Blind? I guess first as an unofficial event, just like, is it interesting or not? And then secondly, as what it would mean if it became an official event.
Well, I think the first thing I want to say is that the people who really got invested in Team Blind when it was, I guess it's still unofficial, I'm really impressed with how far they pushed it. So like Rami and Patrick, and I think Ava and Sam Brenner as well. Because like they were getting sub 6 singles with Team Blind, which is, you know, already good. Like already good times cited, obviously. So I think it already feels like this is kind of the level that you can get to if this were made official.
Interesting.
Yeah.
I didn't realize that people are getting sub 6s on Team Blind. Wow, that's insane.
There was I forgot who Rami's partner was. I think it was Patrick. But there was a video on the Cubicle not that long ago, and they were doing some crazy Team Blind solves.
Wow,
Yeah, I think it was like
wild.
in 2016 or something.
No. This video is brand new. They were like
brand
in the
new,
Cubicle.
okay.
Yeah, it was very impressive.
Interesting.
I don't know. Editor in the sky. If you add it in, feel free to add
I'll
it.
find
in.
it.
But
Hopefully I can
it's a
find
little bit. The title is not. It's like it's not in the title, if that makes sense. So it's not hard. It's not easy to find. I might have to look through. But anywho, Team Blind. I love the concept of Team Blind. I think it has that perfect like thing that we're looking for with uniqueness and solve style. There is one logistical challenge for Team Blind that I think we could theoretically overcome. But personally, to me, I think it would require some sort of overhaul to the WCA database. We have to do Team Blind in a very strategic way. And this is just my opinion. We can't just have two cubers paired together. We have to have teams on the WCA website. Like, you have to apply to be in a team. Does that make sense?
Oh,
so like you know
when
how in
you
like
go to
games,
register.
yeah, you know how, well, yeah, kind of, but you know how in games where you have like guilds and clans and stuff like that.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, I don't know. I think you need to apply to be a team. So like, say for example, like Carrie, myself, Manu, let's add Wilson, right? All of us want to be in a rotation of being Team Blind together. Like maybe I want to be Team Blind with Manu or Carrie. I need to apply into WCA to be a team, and we'd have a roster. And then cubers can't be in two teams at the same time. But that to me would make it possible for us to actually display team results, if that makes sense. Or else how would you go about, like, what if Manu competes with Carrie one day, and what if the next competition, it's just convenient for Manu to compete with Wilson, right? You just need it to be very clear as a result, because I'm for Team Blind, but it just requires some sort of way to properly display and rank people.
Interesting. I think ranking people is actually not that hard, and I think displaying it is not particularly difficult, because if I've competed with multiple other people, just pick whatever my best one is. Like, so for example, if I compete with Carrie and I get a minute, and I compete with you and I get 50 seconds, then the one on the profile should be the one with you, right, Try? Because that one is just the one where we got 50 seconds. So that seems pretty straightforward to me. Just pick the best one.
Yeah. I don't know how to explain this, but I don't think the result. So, like, say for example, your best time ever in a team blind result was 1 minute 17 second single, theoretically.
Sure.
Right. I want, personally, in my head, as someone who's viewing the rankings, I want that to be forever linked with a specific person, and it is. But if we were to just rank it by individual results, still, it's not inherently linked.
Well, it's not ranking it by individual results. Ranking it, like, the rankings would be separate. But if you were to go into my profile...
Oh, right? So you're saying, so, like, you could see Manu and Carrie, and then still see Manu and Zod, basically.
No. You would just see whatever the best one is. So if Manu and Carrie is better than Manu and Chai, then you just see Manu and Carrie on my personal page. On the rankings page, then you just have like a pairwise of everybody. So like
okay, so on the rankings page, you'd see
everybody shows up. Yeah.
Got it.
I just on the printer again. Let's go.
Oh
yeah.
Yes, she's here again.
Is that good or?
Yeah, good's on the printer.
Okay.
She's actually, it's not supposed to bend like that little flap there.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, but she's gone. I scared her away. Yeah, but
yeah. I don't know. Carrie, do you have any thoughts?
Yeah, well, I think Team Blind ranking, there will be debate on how it's done. I was just thinking of a strange edge case. So, like, let's say someone has the world some team has the world record at like 7 seconds, and it's like person A and person B work together to get 7 seconds. Then if person C and person D get 8 seconds, they should be ranked second place, right?
Makes sense to me.
Like, they shouldn't be ranked third. That wouldn't make sense.
Yeah, that makes sense.
But then what if there's person A, B, and C, and then like they all team up in the 3 permutations? So like A and B, B and C, and A and C all team up and they all get like 7 seconds. And then like D and E get 10 seconds. Should they be ranked 4th? Or maybe 2.5?
4th.
Oh,
see,
okay.
I feel like this is where one of those edge cases where I think I would appreciate teams. It's just something where I want to like develop
I don't know about
very
teams.
like because it's called team blind, so we need to put people.
But I feel like teams is weird, right? Because like, what if like I am on a team with a bunch of people, but then none of those people are coming to the competition I want to go to, but there are other people on a different team, and so they're like maybe none of their team members are going to the competition, and I want to do team blind, so we should just do it together because why not? But then if you can't have 2 people be on the same team, then it's like weird, right? Like, and I think team blind is not team as in like many people. To me, team blind means like 2 people. 2 people are competing together. They are like the entity, if you will. Like they are the competitor. So that's why I think it makes sense to just take everything that we do for one competitor and just instead of having one name, just put 2 names on there. It just seems very straightforward to me.
Right. So like every combination of 2 people is like a
is a unique it's a unique pairing, right? So in Carrie's case, then people D and E, because they are the 4th best unique pairing, they just end up as 4th.
Right. Well, okay, I know that this isn't supposed to be like a debate, but then what could end up happening is if there's like a league of like 10 people who are all pretty fast, they can push down everyone below them. Like they can make their ranks go much lower by just finding more permutations of the top 10.
Well, I want to add on to it in a sense, like, and I know it's not supposed to be a debate, but this is something where I think Team Blind is a great event to add, but we just need to think of the right way to add it in, right?
Agreed.
But just the thing about Team Blind, like, what if it's a world situation where there's a round 2? And then where Carrie's conversation, that really matters. I don't know. It's just, because you want the round advancements to be in some way reflecting of the world rankings, right? In some capacity, where you have each individual pairing as like exclusive
of course. Yeah.
So if I see in the records that, like, say for example, Manu is competing around a region, he's one of the best team blinders of all time, he pairs up with multiple people, I just don't know for me how it feels, just perception wise or like integrity wise, if I see Manu Carey and then I see Manu Wilson and then I see Manu Michael and then when I go into a competition, you obviously can only pair with one person in advancement of rounds.
Yeah.
So if there's a restriction there with what an individual result can be, why is that restriction not being placed on the ranking either?
Okay.
Because it's a restriction in the competition.
Yeah.
So that's
that
the
makes
case
sense.
where Carrie's edge case of that fourth team is actually second if they were to compete in a competition, right?
Yeah,
so
possibly,
that's what I'm trying to
That's a good point.
fix in my head, you know?
That's
But
a
it's a
good
logistical challenge of organizing teams. And
Yep.
what I'm saying with teams is like, it should not be like 5, 6, 7 people. Like, I'm giving 4 people as an example, but obviously at most it'd probably be a maximum of like 3, like a substitution person.
Well, I don't know about 3, but
what?
Maybe not 3, I don't know. But I don't have the perfect answer,
But-
and I don't think it would actually happen.
that's a good
That's
point.
the thing.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
I think another like key problem is like if you go to register, like how do you register for Team Blind, right? Like I can just say that like, hey, I want to do Team Blind, but then what if there is no one at the competition who I want to partner with, right? Like, do you need to have a partner like when you are doing your registration, like right then and there? Do you have to decide?
that's like a lot of
That
issues.
is that I think
yeah.
is also like very complicated and something that we are not like ready. I think we are not ready like logistically and probably technologically to handle things like that yet. But it would be very interesting.
I agree. I don't know. People in the comments, if you're listening on audio, if you're watching on YouTube, what do you guys think? Because I think it's very interesting, that conversation. Because I think most people are like pro Team Blind, just most people are not like pro how to do it, right?
Yeah, I mean, it'll
makes
definitely
sense.
it's definitely a logistical challenge, right? It's very easy for us to just sit here and be like, yeah, guys, let's add Team Blind, but then offer no solutions whatsoever on how we would actually do it.
I mean, if I'm not mistaken, I think I talked about in a previous podcast episode about how future results could be slightly different or something like that, and maybe like different, like, you know, like 3x3 knockout win-loss record type records, stuff like that. Like, so new types of results would be super cool, just generally speaking. But so we talked about FTO, we talked about Team Blind. I don't know how much you guys want to talk about something else that's pretty pop. Oh, we talked about Redicube too, right?
Yeah, I feel like we should try to like knock out as many.
First impressions, Carrie. We're knocking out another one. Kilominx.
I'm already getting a thumbs down from Manu.
No. But your opinion.
Wait, what do you think?
Oh shoot.
Carrie,
If you need to think about it, I can
Carrie,
go on.
I'm just saying you gotta answer
whole
carefully here. There's one right answer.
Just to stir up drama, I'll say yes.
We are getting canceled.
I'm
We're
getting
getting
He
canceled.
really
I'm
went
not gonna get
there.
canceled. Well, no.
No,
Like,
No.
Okay. Well, I guess it's like a question of if you're gonna have one dodecahedral puzzle, like, okay, I guess it would be Megaminx, but okay, like if we go to the like another shape, like the tetrahedron with Pyraminx, sometimes I feel like the Pyraminx itself is a little too simple. So
Okay.
maybe like a four-layer tetrahedron would have been a better representative for that family. But we definitely shouldn't have 2 Pyraminx categories.
Yeah, because you think like they're probably like too similar or whatever, right?
Wait, so can I
Yeah.
add a question for you then? Because that's a great point. Do you think that in a perfect world we would have had Master Pyraminx instead of Pyraminx?
Oh, Master. I think so, just because like. I feel
And this
like
is
with
all
Pyraminx-
opinion. Sorry.
Yeah. I think that like. Well, okay, I don't want to like offend any Pyraminx solvers because I know that there's so much depth to like advanced methods. There's like 10 different methods out there, but I think that like with the Master Pyraminx, I'm probably closer to like 3x3 or OH in terms of time, or probably longer even. So there's sort of more substance and more like look ahead and just a lot more interesting things that you can do with Master Pyraminx.
Plus, like
Well, I think-
on regular Pyraminx, tips are, I don't know. What are your guys' thoughts on tips? I think tips. I think like Pyraminx is like maybe fine, but tips are really dumb, and I feel like we should just remove tips and just keep Pyraminx as a puzzle. Like it's like Pyraminx, but we just cut off all the tips.
Well, I don't think we should cut off the tips because it'll look bad, but we should just glue them to
Fix them.
That's a
fix
good
them.
idea. I can get behind that.
Yeah.
No, but like this is probably gonna be our very like last topic, just real quickly about removing events, because that's kind of like that's very like touchy, you know what I mean? But what I'm talking about with like the would you prefer to have master Pyraminx over Pyraminx is that means Megaminx actually hit it right on the head. We got it right the first time with Megaminx versus Kilominx, right?
I think
At
so.
least that's how
Yeah.
I feel about it.
Yeah, I think that's true. Like, a Kilominx is like a 2x2 Megaminx, and like everything cool about Kilominx is already part of Megaminx, but everything cool about Megaminx is not necessarily in a Kilominx.
Yeah.
Well, that
So
that
it
has
has
its own arguments, I think.
There are
I
there are like little kinks, because like also just in general, like I mean faster is like more spammable, more fun, right?
Yeah.
But
Easier
I
for
don't know,
people
I-
to get into. So
You could probably do one look last layer for Kilominx. I don't know how
Yeah.
many cases there would be.
20.
More than CLL.
Oh,
though.
more
Way
than 20. Sorry, more than 20. Oh my god. Yeah, way more than 20.
It's. I'm gonna guess like 200. But I mean, if you want to get really fast,
Very
I'm sure-
doable.
I'm
Well-
sure you'd be able to.
Yeah. Well,
Let's
if you
do
guys
that.
don't mind, Oh, you're trying to do the math
it's
right
like
now?
it's
No.
whatever
Can you?
however many corner OLLs there are times I think 3, right?
20.
Well, it's not.
Wait, there
Like,
are
it's not
20
gonna be-
corner OLLs?
I thought there was 20.
20 seems high.
16.
For just corners, right? Like 3 corners, 4 corners, and 5 corners.
Yeah.
And
so
2
there's-
corners.
There's 4 3-corners. Is
2 corners? Oh yeah, you're right.
oh,
Yeah.
yeah, there's the 2 corners.
Yeah, there
I
are
think
4
it'd be
3
20.
there are 4
Yeah,
3
yeah.
corners. There are
4 2s.
4 2 corners.
There's a ton of 4s.
Really? Shouldn't there only be like
there's pi. There's pi.
There's
there should be
E
pi
perm,
and
E
H,
perm,
but
E perm, E perm.
Why don't we just look
pi.
up a list?
there should be pi and H, but then there should be like if pi is like pi, and then there's the pi is like split by the. So that also sounds like it's 4, and then how many 5s? There are only 2 5s, right? So
Yeah, there's only 2 5s.
Okay.
so
There's
that
16.
sounds like
16. Oh, okay.
Okay.
And then times 3, so that's the math. Really?
actually I don't think it's 3.
No.
I think it's more.
It's gonna be more because like, if you have like a T perm, let's say, then it's only 1 PLL. But then if you combine that with an OLL, the T perm could have 4 or 5 different like rotations.
Oh,
I mean,
Oh, yeah. So that's a lot.
okay,
more.
never mind. We're not doing
That's-
the math.
That's more than times 3. Well, what I was gonna say is kind of to like segue into our last section of this. I have a little bit of a
Yeah.
soliloquy, if you guys don't mind. So the whole thing about like Megaminx and Kilominx, right? And how Kilominx was very similar. Like, there's a lot of conversation about that, and we kind of briefly talked about it. But something about Megaminx that I find very interesting in terms of like solve style. I think Manu, you mentioned it at the very beginning of the episode, how it's very similar to 3x3. That some could argue. And if you look at the rankings and you think about how Megaminx is solved, people who are really, really good at 3x3 translate immediately to Megaminx. But when you're really, really good at Megaminx, like in the top tier, like in the top 1%, that doesn't necessarily translate to 3x3 in terms of being a top like 1%er kind of deal. And the reason is the translation of skill is one direction, because you can use 3x3 skills entirely, and then you can still be pretty good. But the thing about Megaminx was the implementation of R2 prime, or like U2 prime, U2, and then having 12 different phases to where sometimes pieces are not touched. There's this flexibility and freedom that that's why it doesn't translate back that way. So if you think about it in that sense, the events are actually very, very different, just because of the skills not being translatable both ways.
Yeah.
So what I was saying with Kilominx and Megaminx, right? And how they're very similar. Like, Kilominx is a lot smaller, but this is where it gets a little bit touchy with like, then what's the point of having something like a 6x6 or having like a 7x7? And for me, like, I think I have more of a harder stance on, you know, 2 wrongs don't make a right. And if something is already added in, there has to be some serious discussion of what it takes away from the community for it to be taken away from the WCA,
Mhm.
because you're being intrinsically exclusive. But in a sense where Kilominx has not been added in yet, we have to deeply analyze and seriously consider the fact that what value it does bring before we consider it an inclusive setting and adding it into the WCA.
Right, yeah.
But I think that in nature is not necessarily being exclusionary, because you also haven't nurtured the community as well. But the difference between 6x6 and 7x7, how they're so similar to 5x5, is you've already had this for an extended period of time. People have practiced. It is official. It is recognized. And to take that away is an exclusive act. Exclusive?
It's an exclusion.
Yeah, exclusionary act. Sorry. Yeah. So, in a sense, even though Kilominx and Megaminx, the problem with Kilominx is the same argument for something like 6 and 7 in terms of similarity, the situations are very different. Like, if I were to bring my mentality way back in the 15 years ago, or I don't know when 6 and 7 were, they weren't part of the original event list, right?
I think, yeah, January 2009 is when they got
Yeah,
out.
if I were to go back and bring that mentality, like, maybe, I mean, at that time, you want to just add as much as possible to have more inclusion and more people compete and stuff like that. But now we're hitting a point where it's like adding more does not necessarily mean
Better.
growing the community, right? Because there's only so many things that we can do as an organizer to hold all these competitions and stuff like that.
True.
So like with times and changing, the stipulations to add events changes as well, right? Because now we have I mean, it was very controversial, but we had 18 events and now we have 17.
Yeah.
So, yeah. When was Feet added in?
I don't know when it was added.
But yeah, Feet, very, very controversial when it
Very controversial.
when it got removed. There was I feel like there was a fair bit of drama behind that, but I don't know if we'll have enough time in this episode to...
Probably not. But it's just the I don't know. It definitely wasn't part of the original. I mean, who would originally think to solve 3x2 feet officially?
I know, yeah. Were any of us here when Magic got removed?
No, that was before our time.
No.
But yeah, Magic was also.
What was the explanation?
I think it's like you solve it the exact same way every time. So
Yeah.
there's no like
The solution
strategy.
is everyone does the exact same solution. I think there were also like a lot of logistical
Got it.
problems with the old timers, and with like I think like because the motion was also like very flamboyant.
Right.
So like there was difficulty like measuring exactly when like it got stopped. I think there were like other problems like you would have to like restring your Magic every so often because it got like
would the strings tear?
yeah, either they tore or they just degraded or whatever. But we can save let's save remove events for a different podcast episode. I think this one is getting a little bit long.
I think Magic lived to the end of its life. All good things must come to an end. So just like Magic's time in the WCA, this episode will also come to its end.
Perfect. Oh, so
what is up with your
I got the approval
segues
from
today?
the
You're
So
on fire
smooth,
with
man.
the
Hell yeah.
segues.
This is how
my
you make the
goodness.
podcast
Hey.
the best on the internet.
Hey, Carrie, you said going into this that this was going to be the best podcast episode. 100% delivered. Actually delivered. The intros and outros
Delivered.
perfect.
On the dot.
Beautiful.
On the dot.
Beautiful.
Awesome.
Those
I'm glad
segues
you
from the
guys
beginning
liked
all the way
it.
to the end. I liked it.
Yeah, and the audience will too.
They better like it.
They better like it.
Yeah,
CubersLive, I'm watching you.
I wonder like if this part of the podcast is gonna stay in or if it's gonna like end right there. But if people are still listening, goodbye.
Bye bye everyone.
I'm out of endings.
We'll see you next week.
Do-do-do.